There we go. All right. Thank y'all for tuning into the program. As you know, this is Andrew Love. You're watching Your Journey with Andrew Love. And I have another guest. Y'all probably heard her, seen her on Boy Meets World and in the media. She's getting a lot of backlash for a while, you know, in the media, social media, you know, like Instagram and so forth. So y'all know Trina McGee, one and only. So I brought her on here so I can answer a couple of questions about some things, you know, because she's dealing with a lot of things in her life. And so first I'm going to ask her, like, Trina McGee, how you get into acting?
That's a very good question. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me, because through you, there's a bigger audience. And I have a lot of, I feel, really useful things to say. So how did I get into acting? Truthfully, I got into acting because internally, I kind of felt like that's probably what I would do. I kind of made this announcement at a very young age, I'm going to act. But I never really acted on that announcement or vision until I graduated from high school. And I was actually in high school, I was accepted to LaGuardia. But my grandmother, who was a really strong force in my life, wanted me to go to Horace Mann School in Riverdale. It's a prestigious private school. And because she felt like you already know how to act, you already know how to sing, I need you to go to the school, and really her purpose for me going there was for me to kind of push into the upper echelons of society, you know, for my own safety. And had she not forced me to go to this school, I was probably one of, you know, 6 Black people in the school, I probably wouldn't have been able to handle or know how to deal with the exposure and even getting the part on Boy Meets World. You know, it was knowing how to maneuver in that world, I think, that kind of, and growing up that way, that helped me to be successful on Boy Meets World. You know, but how did I get to? Okay, so honestly, I went on a date with a guy who was a producer. And he said, you look like an actress. You should go try to act. And I'd already had in my mind, that's what I wanted to do, but I didn't have the confidence. And unbeknownst to me, this guy actually had a name, and he let me use his name to get with an agency that was just starting called Click. And then they had a movie division called Flick. And that agency now is huge. It's called Frameworks. It's their roster is amazing. But when I got with it, it was just a small company. And they said, okay, well, we're not going to sign you, but we'll send you on some freelance auditions, you know, see if people want to even see you and see how that goes. So my first audition I went on was for a play off Broadway in New York. And I got the part right away. It was a very small part, but it was a big play, and I didn't know it at the time. And in the play was an actress named Gina Gershon, Marissa Tomei, who I believe won an Oscar or was nominated somewhere in there, and Vincent D'Onofrio from Law and Order. We were all young actors coming up in this off-Broadway play, and I certainly was. They were a little more experienced than me. I certainly was the peon of that. And then my second audition I got was for a show called Divas, being produced by Quincy Jones. And he was having auditions all over the country. And for some reason, they picked me to come out and compete against 11 more girls in California. And it's amazing. These 11 girls were Lauryn Hill, Regina King, a girl named Lisa Nicole Carson, who was really hit big at the time. I believe Tashina Arnold turned down the audition because the money wasn't quite right. Julie and Lennon's girlfriend, you know, was part of it. So he initially, out of the 11 girls, picked me, this Lisa Nicole Carson, and this other girl named Rose, can't remember her last name, and also Lauryn Hill. Lauryn couldn't do it because she was too young at the time. And so she would have been the 5th person in the group, you know, but she couldn't, she was only, I think 15 at the time. So we signed up. I actually got the part. Me and the 4 girls beat out everybody, sing, dance, act, you know, that's what you had to do. And you had to do it well. And when, I want to say this also, when Quincy Jones brought me to LA, I still had to audition against these 11 girls, but it was a week of strenuous work. It's nothing like what people go through today. I mean, the audition went on for a week at this time, and you got up and you went to the studio, you danced, you sang, and they evaluated you, and you act, and you had to know a scene and the whole thing. This went on for a week until finally, and then they sent you back to your hotel room, and they said, okay, now we're going to make our final decision. And I sat by a phone in a hotel room in California. I'd never been here, for about 2 hours waiting to see if I was going to I had to have my bags packed. And either I was going to get back on a plane, or Quincy Jones was going to say, yeah, you're part of the group. And, you know, when I got the phone call in my room of you're part of this group, you could hear me screaming throughout the whole thing. And that was honestly my first lesson in Hollywood, because honestly, through all that, the show never went. The show didn't actually get picked up. And I was kind of dropped in Hollywood. I had an agent. Now my agent was confident about me, you know. And then I was just another girl with a better agent than most, pounding the pavement and going on all the auditions everyone else could, because my big break, you know, had dissolved, you know. And it was a great lesson about the business, about the strength you need and how much you need to brush off to do this, you know. And it took me years to get over that, you know, but it was a blessing. It brought me to LA. It got my agent into me, and then I hit the pavement. And it took about 7 years of hit, you know, audition after audition, opportunity, meet with this person, meet with that person, say this, don't say that, dress like this, don't, you know, 7 years. And then I got Boy Meets World. So you know, I have a respect for the work that it took for me to get there, you know. You could black, white, whatever, you know, every person has their own journey. And you know, and I ended up landing on a show, because a lot of my feedback was, you know, always like, you look too young, you're not a mom yet, you know. You know. So I ended up landing on a show, and I persevered so hard. I never missed an audition. I was always ripe and ready. And I landed up on a show where I got to actually be, you know, God's good, the way I looked, which was a little younger than a lot of my peers, and it worked out.
Man, I'm happy it did work out. I liked it. Like I said, I watched Boy Meets World, and I watched no Savage them and stuff like that, and Doogie Howse. I watched a lot of stuff. TGIF was a thing back in the day.
Let me tell you a short story also about that, just so you know how much really goes into what people think is just this easy existence. When I got the audition from Boy Meets World, my first audition, hold on a second. Hey, turn it down up there. My first audition, they said to my agent, they said, she's not funny, you know. And I was kind of outraged, because nothing on the paper was funny. And if you look at my character on the show, I really wasn't the one to I was more of a setter-upper, or the, you know, straight or dramatic, but I never really was, you know, got the punchlines, you know. I was more of the girl to, you know, set up, or just wasn't. So what they gave me on paper wasn't funny. So we have no further interest, is what they said. So I went back to my agent and I said, wow, this sounds really fun. I just know I'm the person to play this part, because I had seen what my competition was. Back then, you didn't audition against, you know, 500 people online. There was about 8 of us that you'd see at every audition. And I said, wow, I know I'm the one for this part. So I went back to my agent. My agent was like, no. They said no, but there was a secretary who was working for him at the time. She was a young girl and she wanted to achieve, she felt very held back by my agent at the time, you know, on some of her ideas. So I started talking with her after I just met with my agent, who told me forget about it, on the way out. And I said, you know what, you know, I just feel like I could have got this. And I said, call back again, see where it's at, to her. And she was like, yeah, I'm down, you should get it. And you know, her rebellion, my rebellion. She called back again and they said, okay, we'll see her again. But this time it was being put on tape. And this time the creator of the show was able to see it. And then the ball got rolling. So, you know, it's not always as easy for us as you like to think. Pretty is not a winner, you know. So I just want to put that in there.
I'm glad you said that, because nothing in life comes easy. Success does not come easy. People think it does. They don't know the mental thing that you gotta go through, to all the turn downs you gotta go through. There's gonna be a whole lot of no's before gonna be a whole lot of yeses. And that's anything in life. And then find out that's in business, some relationships. You'll get no's before you get yeses. And it don't never feel, that phase, it don't never feel good. Rejection and failure, whatever you want to call it, never feels good. It's always a learning lesson. But if you want it bad enough, you do have to fight for it, because nobody just gonna just hand it to you.
No, not at all. And everything's kind of designed to just make you settle in and say, okay, you know, with that, well, that's what the bigger part of the system says. And there's a higher system of belief that really is beautiful if you can tap into that.
And that's what you did. Now, thank you for that. Now, since Boy Meets World, I don't know what all other projects that you have done. And have you acted in any other scenes since Boy Meets World? I know you're well known for that. Any other major scenes?
Well, right after Boy Meets World, I did a movie called Friday After Next. That was after Boy Meets World. But to tell you the truth, I mean, I find that the general public will look at an actress and say, you know, where's she been? What's she doing? You know, and they kind of have this consensus, like if they don't see you, that things are bad, you know, or you've done something, or, you know. And I just want to kind of say to that I love to act. I love to entertain. I love everything about the creative side of the business, but I'm not it's not my God, you know. So truthfully, about the time when Boy Meets World ended, I found myself putting a lot out, and I had to be really truthful with myself, that it was great acting. It was great being a part of the creative process. But when I actually walked on a set to do the work, that part of it really wasn't making me totally happy. And you know, it's the ego part of it. You see someone on TV, you see oh, they're great, they're noticing me, this is great. But the actual like task of acting in that setting, for me, I needed a break from, because this is going to sound silly to some people, but I like sunshine. I need outdoors. So the experience is like, as a real human being, is you get up really early, you go to this soundstage, and they close this door, boom, and suddenly you're in darkness for about 13 hours of the day, and you are told what to do the whole day. And at the end of the day, when you're rehearsing, these suits come down and they watch you. And this is all like in this dark, like big cave, you know. And then you go out at the end of the day and you come back, and it's very strange. It's like working in a creative factory back then. And I loved the acting. But I had to be real about, and then also the nature of the business creates a lot of competition. And for some people, it can create some really nasty attitudes. And for me, I felt like I got a lot, whatever set, not whatever set, because I had some great experiences on some sets, but towards the, after Boy Meets World, I'll say I started to notice a change in the business, a change in the attention to detail, a change in courtesy of people. And, you know, I just kind of said, well, I just, you know, hey, maybe it's time to raise my kids like a little bit more attentively. You know, people don't put a value in that, you know, raising your kids, living your life, loving the people around you. Maybe there's some other things I'm interested in. So, you know, it's not the God to me that it is to everyone else, but I understand why people say, hey, I haven't seen you. What are you doing? I've been great, you know, I've been great. And, I have a great family and other interests. I'm interested in art. You know, I'm definitely an herbalist. I come from a deep political family, and acting is one of the many things I like to do. You know.
Man, that's great. I know I'm glad you shared that information with me
It's
because
not as important to me as it seems to be to everyone else. You know, but I understand.
yeah, the reason I asked you because you know a lot of people when they see people in Hollywood, they think everything is glamour and stuff, and a lot of people at a young age deal with those psychological issues. Um, you know, I guess could they live a life not knowing they self or get you to experience certain things in life to ground them. So in your opinion, I heard actors say that before, and I think a lot of actors. I think a lot of actors are at the end they by sometime in their career, not all of them, but some of them do feel what you have failed, and I think a lot of them end up on like you know a lot of times people don't see actors a long time they think they either on drugs, blackball, or something bad, like you said, something bad, something real terrible happened. But you know, I was looking at you know with some of the posts and the things, and one of the things you have said you know, what everybody was bashing you about was just like a statement, a comment that kind of, I guess, probably hurt you at the young age. And sometimes stuff at a young age can hurt you a long time until you release it. You know, it's not necessarily, it's not like it's not old, but sometimes you have to clear your energy out your energy. There's a lot of things that people hold psychologically today, if they want to admit to it, that they hang on to it, they got to let it go, or you're gonna eat them up inside. And sometimes it's a certain time you gotta do that. It could take 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So I want to ask you a question about that comment about that was made on the set that you got bashed for, and a lot of people want to know this. Know why did you decide to mention it after so long? And I want you to answer the question, defend yourself, and you know.
Well, you know, it wasn't really a question of waiting or not waiting or holding on to it. It was more like this. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
More like this. It was like, okay, I come to the Girl Meets World. Well, all right, I leave Boy Meets World. There's good times. There's bad times. Hold on, diplomat. Okay.
Yeah, can you move your camera?
Yeah.
Sorry, can you move your camera?
Boy Meets World ends
Okay.
2000. I leave there with some good times and some really like, okay, why did that happen sometimes, you know? As most people do, I think on most job situations, although prior to Boy Meets World, I had never had that kind of intensity of emotions coming at me. I'll just put it what I perceived as that. What was your question?
You know about the statement about stuff about the Angel Mama statement. Yeah.
All right. So this is the thing that was going. Thank you. As years go by, after the Girl Meets World reunion of show, I noticed that other people, the 4 main cast members, were doing a lot of conventions and were collecting money on that. And prior to that, because I'd experienced some situations where I felt like very slighted verbally, like in my face, you know, and I put up with it at the time because I was a mother of 3 children, and I didn't feel like there was this plethora black roles for me to just jump into, you know. So and also that's kind of how I'd been taught as a child. My grandmother worked for the government. She had many jobs where she was the only white person, and she suffered and maneuvered around a lot. And I kind of subconsciously watched her do that. So I'm here now in this situation, been here before, grew up like this. So it was just like, I knew to quietly address situations, by quietly meaning not getting irate and by just saying, hey, you've offended me right now. And the thing about it is, I saw them going to conventions, picking up money. I'm remembering what it was said. Then I come back for a reunion show, and the vibe towards me, I felt, was disrespectful. You know, I just like a whole bunch of weird stuff that I didn't really understand. People kind of just being weird to me, you know, kind of like this cold, hot Hollywood, way more cold, hot. Like, I just felt like there was these opinions that had formed, however they'd come about, on me, you know, and I just felt totally uncomfortable just with the whole social vibe of it. So then that happens, the reunion. So now we're going on to these conventions, and I'm seeing people, and I'm thinking, wow, you know, it's just those four. I understand there are a whole plethora of other people on this show, but now I have a whole bunch of African Americans, you know, coming to me, and white people too, saying, hey, I want to see you in a convention. How come you're not, you know, part of this? You know, how come you're not a part of that? And I'm, you know, truthfully, in my mind, I kind of was like, well, I just want to move on. But then you kind of think, well, damn, I put the work in for this. You know, why is no one contact? Why does this seem to be this little monopoly on these people? You know, the truth of the matter is, once I have to go in,
Okay.
the truth of the matter is, you know, however you want to see it, when I came on to Boy Meets World, they were number 52 in the ratings, okay? I asked the creator of the show to, can you do a show about me? And he agreed to it. And that was an episode with me and my father coming in. When they aired that episode, the show shot from 52 to number 17 in the ratings. That's when you would actually look in the paper every Wednesday and you'd see what the TV ratings and where you ranked. Okay, then shortly after that, the show was supposed to be canceled. That's why they did what we like to call in TV jump the shark by adding me and Rachel and the character Jack. They were trying to hang on to not be canceled. So after that, they shot up to number 17. All of a sudden, we got another season. Okay. So my point is this: it was a collaboration. I'm not the golden angel that came down and saved the show, but I had a lot to do with people working another year. And the numbers to me say that. It's not my ego or anything. I also know that I brought in a whole nother demographic to the show because it's been told to me by other cast members who now are being approached by African Americans and other cultures because I was on the show. So I'm just saying, is it so bad to include somebody who's being asked by their community to participate, where they can go and see somebody and sign and get an autographed picture to be involved? And I kind of just, because of the slights and the little quip remarks and the things that I explained very clearly in the tweets, and then coming back to see people and still feeling that disrespectful vibe, I can only come to the conclusion, wow, that must be kind of why I'm not a part of these situations. You know, something has been said or done, because that's been a kind of a rolling vibe the whole time. You know, so I just feel like I had to go with my gut at 50 of what I think is right. I'm not a Me Too person. I'm not a person who's gonna, if you realize me saying all that, there's no lawsuit behind it. There's no, hey, I'm going to sue you. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, hey, this happened. I know this happens to other people. And it's not really about, I brought it up 20 years later. I brought it up because the vibe is still rolling. And now we're in 2020, and I'm still feeling that disrespect that I let happen because I, as a woman and an African American woman, wanted to make sure my job was secure for my children. So I took that, you know, those quips and those things that made me feel uncomfortable, or made me feel a little less than, or made me have to go into work fighting with a spirit that they didn't have, you know. And honestly, when people were confronted at the time, it was just it was kind of like, it was a joke to them. And why shouldn't it be? You know, that's not their experience. What would they know about Aunt Jemima at the time? Why would they have to know? You know, so, you know, and you know, I get some flack for this too. You know, someone had said on IG, I was with you until you wanted to separate this racism and that racism. You know, my thing is, it's not a separation of racism or not. I think racism, the word, is used very loosely these days, in that I have seen and known, and in my family, the kind of racism that stops people cold in their tracks. What I say, what more happens today is loose tongues and prejudice, you know, and often coming from, think about it, if you were trying to make your race the best race, wouldn't you eclipse your children from really having to know about other situations? They would just accept themselves as the best, you know. So, you know, um, I come from a different generation where racism is one thing, prejudice and name calling is another, and both should be addressed. There's no tolerance for either of them. If you let the tolerance of the prejudice in, it will only lead to bad things. But I do know the difference between someone who has a hate in their eyes and someone who doesn't. And the thing about it is, I don't really even see the world. I don't see myself as the title of a Black woman. I am a Black woman, but I am a point of attention in light and an energy that is way above this skin I have. Is the experience that I'm having, that God put me in this skin to have this experience. And this is the reality that I'm in. But if I chalk it up and keep looking at it as the total sum of what I am, that is the true prison that my reality will be in for the rest of my life, you know. So that's why sorry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Your video went off. Okay, there we go.
There we go. Hey, hang up, Thomas.
I like this interview. This is real as it gets.
Yeah.
I love it. I like real. That's what I like about my interview. My interviews is 100% pure and real. No cutthroats. No editing. It's what you see is what you get. No twisting words. And I love interviewing people, man. I mean, I get real stories, and I want to tell you this. I
just want to say this. That's why in Love and Light, as a conscious being, I can look at Will and know Will Friedle and say, hey, that's not a hateful person. That was just somebody who carried a joke too far. I brought it up 20 years later because even that joke was a pile-on of an overall, we can just do whatever we want to this Black girl because she ain't got shit going on because she's just a poor Black child. That's how I see it. So it was just time for that train to stop, you know. Boy Meets World is a great show. It paved the way for the reboots right now. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna disregard in any way my contribution to that, with all humbleness and just straight what's due, what's given. That's it, you know.
Yes, man. I'm glad to have you on. And I'm some more questions I'm gonna answer about. It's okay if I make a statement real quick, if you don't mind. A statement. It is. Okay. I feel that in I'm glad that you did what you did because what you experience is just not necessarily in acting. It's all areas of life for people of color, or I would say people of color, black people to be more specific. African American people, black people go through, and a lot of time they bite their tongue to keep their job and try to brush it off. But at the end of the day, you got to answer yourself a question: when do we speak up? When is it time to speak up? Because other people going through this too. We don't want this to continue on, like I said, piling up this type of energy that's going on. And when I heard this in Hollywood before, and another thing, there is a market for black people. That's why the ratings went up. Look at Black Panther. Black people would
Yeah.
tune in to
Mm-hmm.
watch their people because they feel it's a come up. Back then, it was hard to get more than one or two person on any show. If you
Oh,
had if you threw a one black person on the show, black people would tune in just to see that particular person feel like
I'm
they
not.
made it.
I still am. I'll flip through channels and I'll just like I want to give the black show a try first because I want to see what my people, you know what I'm saying, and the characteristics, just like any other group, you know, it's okay.
Right. But the thing that they can use us as workers and disrespect, like you feel on the set, you probably did feel the energy. The energy should not have been felt. There should have been a lot of respect because, like you said, I believe you did. Your presence there did help uplift the show to where it's at, and to uh not to notice it, and not for them to at least give you credit to keeping the people another year of job of anybody, no matter what color. That's sad, and people need to respect those people. You'll be amazed how one person can make a difference in anything, and we should respect that person. Everybody counts, and I know you're not saying that you're better than anybody, but you can say I did have a significant impact.
Yes, I definitely feel like I can say that, you know, and I stand that because I did the work of that, you know. But I also know in the real world, you're not necessarily gonna get respect for what you've done, and you're not necessarily gonna get the kudos for what you've done and everything. It really is up to you to know and believe in that, especially people of color. You may not ever really see that. You may see a whole bunch of people get an award that you should have gotten, you know, and that you may have laid the groundwork for. I've seen it over and over again. I don't have an answer for that or how to deal with that, but I do know that at the end of the day, I have to, an issue with me personally, um, as a just a person is not not demanding, but not being in the truth of the energy I give out balanced to the energy I should receive. And that's a problem I think with a lot of women. You know, we give out a lot, we don't always value what we give out, and then you double it with, you know, being a person of color in America. You know, we have a hard time respecting each other. You know, there's a self-worth issue going on, and I just find at 50 years old, before I pass on this earth, I would really like to be in balance with that a lot more, you know. And I think a lot of one of the unfortunate things that happens and we get played on is we feel the lack of self-worth, and then we go too far in our egos and to try to prove it. And it's an inward thing. It's an inward declaration. It's not a car. It's not a Gucci bag. It's not a sugar daddy. It's not a anything material. It's just a work of getting up and clearing your mind and saying, I'm worthy. What's blocking me? What's making it's so inward, and we brought into all these outward things, and it's never going to be enough, you know.
Yes, I can see. You know why I like talking? I can see your heart and passion, everything you saying. I can tell you really feel it, and I can look at your facial expression, tell that um you know you are very passionate about what you said, and it kind of touches you. Like I'm looking at your eyes, and I said, I hope she don't cry. But I do see your sincerity and pain. I think just not for yourself, but for others.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of hurts that you like um yeah, you wish to stop, but you gonna have people like that in the world, and
You know,
it's
honestly, I don't like balk at backlash.
right.
I've had moments where I'm like, oh, that person understand, and maybe I want to try to like explain it to them. But the reality is, if you fashion yourself as a person of the public, that's part of the job. You know, it's part of me stirring up people's exploration of themselves. So when I see all the comments, it takes a minute, but then I say, let me remove myself from that. Because even if it's hatred in there, bitch, you did it, it's kind of your job as an actor. And we don't always realize this. People just splatter their stuff on us. And in this age of everybody being on a computer and kind of in their house and being able to say things without being punched in the face, it kind of, it makes people a little irresponsible, and it makes people, sorry, you there?
Yeah, I'm
It makes
here.
people irresponsible with their words, and you don't necessarily think it through. And also, what I'm really trying to say is everyone's speaking from their own experience. And I really see this a lot with the younger generation. Like, they haven't actually experienced situations, but they're looking things up on the computer, or they have a friend, or it was just like when I did. And I can say to you unequivocally, my life is a little bit more of a unique experience than most, but it is the same. But you cannot have opinions and convictions based on what you know. You have to keep the what if open of, well, I wasn't there when she experienced that, but maybe she did do this or this or that. There's so much of people thinking, because people are not experiencing and kind of in their computers, there's a lot of rhetoric about, well, this is what you should have done, or this is what I would have done. But if you're only sitting in a room on a computer reading comments, how do you really know what to do? You know, and that's kind of how I feel. I think it's good. Conversations are really good these days. I think the people being mad at me and having those opinions and going back and forth, I find it absolutely beautiful. And I'm really, really feel very fortunate to be a point of attention that can inspire that kind of conversation. Even if people get mad, freedom of speech is very important. Even if it is not directed at my best interest, it's extremely important. The rules in this country are, don't incite a riot, don't incite hate. But if you stop, one of the most messed up things about, I think, what's going on is being politically correct. Because politically correct says, don't say that because I'm right and you're wrong. Liberal, progressive, whatever. When you get into any form of shushing each other, which I saw a lot in the comments, just shut your mouth because you don't know what it is to have that experience, or shut your mouth because she sold them out. No shutting of the mouth. Just say what you got to say. I'm smart enough, I'm an intelligent being enough to say, I agree with that, I don't agree with that. And we're so worried about, if you say this, you're going to influence people that way or that way. It's not about that. People have to say their truths in general and not be told to shut up. Because what happens, all right, let me give you an example. Even if and I'm not going to get a lot of kudos for this, but I'm just saying what I was going to say. All right, say a transgender person comes to me and says, I say, hi, how are you? And maybe I don't call them by the pronoun that they want. I slipped up and I said he, and then I respectively say she. Okay. I've had a time where a person in that position who wants that kind of respect will go off on me. You shouldn't have said that about me, in terms of like, this is my name, this is the respect I demand, and you have to call me this and everything. In a weird leftist way, you're shutting me up. You're telling me I can do that, but on a broad scale, you shutting me up gives more power to the system to shut me up. It's like a self-censoring. It's better for me to sit here and say, you motherfucking faggot, da, 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 if I really feel like that. And then you can decide whether or not to deal with me or not. But stopping people from saying things, I feel is going to turn into a real big problem with this country. Either way, if you're not inciting a riot, I would love to hear what the Ku Klux Klan has to say about anything I'm doing. Just don't incite a riot. That's the law.
Yeah, thank you for that. Listen, I like how you explain that. I do. You broke it down very clear. Now, I said, Rena, like I said, man, I'm excited to I brought you here because it gives you. I want to hear from you verbally what's going on. I don't like hearing what the media says, what everybody says. Okay, everybody gonna put their own spin, twist, and nobody really answers questions. They just hear something, hear a statement, and they react. I don't mind.
Media is into shock value.
Right.
I think it's a true disservice to this country for me to have to read 12 articles and decipher what's true. I think that's the part of freedom of speech in America. I think right now is very sad, that the lack of responsibility in the media, you know.
Yeah, that's why I reached out to you to do an interview with you, because as my responsibility, I just don't just believe everything the media said, because I know they do anything to get ratings and stuff. And people need to have enough intelligence to do their own research before they cast judgment. It's okay to have a judgment, but is it a fair judgment? Did you really look at the situation, or are you just jumping on the bandwagon? And
when people don't do research and then they just start typing and they kind of just read an article or two and they jump in and then they backlash at the person they think they need to, it is a true disrespect to themselves. You just disrespected yourself because you didn't respect yourself enough to actually find, when you know that this is crazy, how stories are being spewed out falsely. If you don't actually just a couple of more clicks, a couple more reading, a couple more thinking, if you don't do that, you're disrespecting yourself as a human being and the knowledge that you need to intake to better yourself.
True.
You know?
Well spoken, ma'am. Now I'm ask you a question now. Since your acting career, I don't know if you have desire to even go back to acting, or you just want to just live a normal, peaceful, happy life. That's what
I want both, but I'd love to go back to acting, you know, if that was the case, you know. I also part of my thing is people always say, you know, I did an interview a couple of months back, and the interviewer said, the 90s were so great, you know, we had all these shows and it was rolling and you could see us everywhere. And I looked at her and I said, because having really experienced it, my thing was, it's not as great as you think. The reason why is because nobody of color owned those shows. How Black is the show if you're not in ownership of it? You know, if you're not controlling the platform, is it really a Black show? You know, don't get fooled, don't get bamboozled. So my thing is, I'd rather, to a certain extent, gather up my resources to produce and direct things that are small stories, real stories, stories without robots and AI and an agenda of what they have in store for us, things that people can identify with to love themselves more. There's a true lack of that right now, and it takes ownership and it takes building of your resource to actually accomplish that. So would I love to go into acting again in the formal way that is presented? Yes, I would love that. But more so that I would have a bigger voice to parlay my own agenda. So that might not be possible in this lifetime. So it's again, you know, it's how a brainwashed society sees how an actor should behave or not, or shut up or this or that. It just doesn't apply to me, because my sources come from different places, and these are outer things that I can express myself in, but they don't hold the value or the, you know, that I think most society has deemed them with, you know. I'm not a combative person. I don't even like the versus television thing where artists are getting together and they're Erykah Badu battling Jill Scott. And, you know, why are we the only people who are dissing and battling each other? It doesn't even make sense to me. I don't see white people doing this. I don't see them putting, you know, I don't know, they're not battling. You know what I'm saying? There's just too much of this inner tribal combat thing going on with us. And we're not looking at the bigger picture. You don't own anything. I don't even know if Erykah Badu or Jill Scott even own their publishing. If they do, God bless you. But why am I looking to put it all in them to battle each other? It's a distraction to what really should be looked at. I'm not concerned about acting. I'm concerned about whatever impact I can have to make people understand, especially people of color, that it really is about ownership, not looking at each other to diss or to battle each other, and get together to battle the bigger picture of what's going on.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I know your cameraman. He holding it pretty steady a little bit, huh? He doing pretty good.
I just propped it up.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah. I wonder why it wasn't moving no more. And I hope my man. I don't listen. I hope my question is a pretty good question I'm asking you, because you got a lot to offer. So
Yeah.
okay. Another question, and I'm curious. Is like, okay, that was an amazing question. I mean, answer. So I'm trying to think what I'm gonna answer yet, because I'm so caught up in what you're saying, and I gotta think, because a lot of my questions not written down. Most of my head.
Ask me a question.
I'm gonna answer some questions, but I'm trying now from there to acting to now. And a lot of backlash. A lot of people think, you know, you're crazy and stuff, and I don't know why they thought you were crazy. Yeah, why do people think you're crazy? Do you know why? I'm just curious. I was just reading your comments. People thought you got psychological issues. Like, where y'all get that from? Off of that one little statement.
Most people, I think that in general, people who kind of think differently, think in a less enslaved mindset, are considered that, you know. And also, you know, it's very easy. Like, I could just say right now, he's crazy, you know. 10 people might not believe me, but 5 people will. You know, there's a really true power in people's words, in terms of people believing the words that are put out, you know. And so why do I think, well, let me ask you this. Why wouldn't they think I'm crazy? Let's go back to let's pick up a couple of other examples before me. We have Lark Voorhees, who came out after a sitcom, you know, came out with some crazy makeup or something, and then people saw maybe she might have had a mental issue. True or not, she was labeled that. Now, I have been mistaken a lot of times for Lark Voorhees, you know. I think, honestly, I'm going to give myself a little bit of kudos in this. I should be crazy. Why wouldn't I be crazy? You're young, you're 20, you go into a business that promises you so much. They've had a run with you, a row, and now they're done. And when I came in, everything was done for us. I mean, a car came to pick you up. You got there. A makeup artist came. Your makeup was done. You know, everything was done. And then it kind of about 2000, it kind of dropped to everyone for themselves. The industry changed. And for a while, no one knew where the industry was going. Now it's kind of a more of a do-it-yourself thing. So people who came up, and then also there was an exclusivity back then that is not here now. If I go out for a part now, I'm up against everybody online. When I used to go out for parts, there'd be 5 girls there. It would be me, Monica Calhoun, what's that chick who I love? Melinda Williams would be there, Elise Neal, Gabrielle Union, and Essence Atkins. And that's kind of like who, and Melissa D'Souza. And you stare at these same 5 to 8 people every single time, and you have about 7 to 8 auditions a week that they were farming us out on. So when people say you're crazy, I actually should be crazy. There's a lot of strength that goes into feeling that you've come into a secure job, a secure home, a secure community of what you think is Hollywood at a very young age, and then having that yanked away from you, as most of us had, especially Black actresses in the 2000s, labeled, hey, this is where you're at. We don't need you anymore, or whatever it is. Why shouldn't I be crazy? Thank God I'm not. The reason I feel I'm not crazy, or I'm crazy in a good way, is because my strength is drawn on a self-love. Whether I've had it at all times or not, I keep going back to that. I keep going back to my source. I'm Haitian. I have certain things in me, in my bloodline, certain spirits that come to me, and they let me know you are a queen. And I didn't rely on the industry. And sometimes, unfortunately, with people of color who have a person who's made it in the industry, there's a lot of love and hate and conflict in that. And I've had that too. It's just taken a lot of loving myself to not be crazy, because honestly, I really should be crazy. I should be upset. I should be on drugs. I should be backlashing. And there are a lot of us that do go that way. And unfortunately, because you're put into a spotlight, people don't give you the sympathy or the empathy of how this town can really make you feel. When I see kids like Orlando Brown or out there, and I see the media, he did this, he did that, he did, you know what I'm saying? My thing is, wow, they keep reporting this. Nobody, Black people, yeah, he crazy. I see the comments. Nobody's saying, hey, can I give a hand to this kid? Or can we collectively, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I don't like to empower the disses and the battles, because it keeps us so far apart in humanity from reaching out to brothers and sisters who really could use a hand before they're offered the wrong hand. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thing. Honestly, I probably am crazy, but I'm a good crazy. I'm crazy in the way that I'm not gonna really come up off of love and what I feel is the embodiment of that. So
All right, thank you on that. Thank you. Now I have another question to ask you. I know I see your Instagram and I see like your pictures and stuff, and I see you do a lot of modeling and stuff and things of that nature. And you model a lot of. I can tell your modeling is a little different than what most models do.
is it?
Yeah, it is. But the reason I said it, because you don't know what you're gonna see. Not for, because you don't mind. I mean, you model anything and everything. I mean, you actually model, and no offense, I like your pictures. You're very, how can I put it? You're very comfortable in your body, and you don't look your age. So how old are you, and how long you been doing this modeling thing?
I'll be 51 soon. I genetically have a young look. I always have. But as I've gotten older, I do a lot to take care of myself, and on a daily basis. Like, I don't let anything go too far. Weight, skin, whatever I'm doing, more than 2 days of bringing it back to health. And that's really for me. I feel like as you get older and a woman in this society, it's very easy to get invisible. It's very easy to be cast off, and there's also a curse of being attractive too. You get cast off. Oh, she's dumb, this or whatever. But what I find in my modeling and taking pictures and everything is, I like being comfortable with my body. I'm not really into being overly explicit, but I do like to display health, and I do like to display sensuality. I think there's a real power in sensuality. And I also think if you look at TV and media through the ages, they have really tried to suppress the sensuality, especially of Black women. And they have often farmed it out to designate it as a hoe, you know. And hoe to me just means that there's a cut and dry kind of exchange going on, you know. And I'm not judging it good or bad, but I do see, like, even in most movies I'm seeing, if there, I saw a movie, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, it was a comedy, and they had a group of girls in a college dorm, you know. So all the lines that came up that were sexual and overtly, you'll see this if you really pay attention in a lot of films, especially to do with majority of the cast is white. They will pawn off a lot of the real hoe lines, the real dirty lines, to the Black girl in the group. I've seen this over and over again. I feel that this is a portrayal of Black women that goes on over and over again. If you are attractive, if you wanted to be glorified, they are pushing a very whore-ish agenda. And I really believe in walking a beautiful line of being sensual, being attractive. There is a great power in that. And that is really the main reason why I believe it's so suppressed and tarnished and cheapened, especially with women of color, because I believe we got a little bit of a corner on that, and there's a huge power in it. And if you just look at it as common sense, what does sex do? It creates life. So even if you're not creating a baby, just the force of it is going to it's going to brainwash. It's going to make it's going to make a man think about things he wasn't want to do before. So I feel like in a lot of ways, I've been kind of growing up monitored, imprisoned, parameters around my sexuality. And I kind of just feel it at 50, you know, I don't know how long I'll be able to sustain a youthful look. And I'm okay with growing old too. But at the same time, I just feel like it's a part of my power, and I'm okay with it. And I don't feel cheap about it. I feel like it's a lesson. And when Black women tend to express their sensuality, it tends to be categorized in this whole kind of context. And people really need to understand that there is a spiritual power with knowing how to balance and use your sexuality. And I love portraying myself as an older, sensual woman. I have a herb company that I'm opening up right now. And a lot of the herbs that I deal with or I've explored or deal with have to do with setting a mindset of confidence, so as well as, you know, repairing the body and healing and everything. But you know, setting your mind to when you wake up, you drink. I'm drinking mugwort right now. Okay. Sorry, people keep calling me. I'm drinking mugwort right now. What that does is I don't know, it just ancestrally, that's what my people do. Okay. And I just like to get back and practice what makes us powerful, you know, and people really need to understand the reason why sex is cheapened, the reason why it is suppressed or shamed or cheapened is because of the power in it. And I understand, I actually really am into harnessing certain powers for the good of people. And I also have tough skin. So if you say all those stupid things on my Instagram, it's okay. I have to be who I am at this point, you know.
Right. Right, right. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'll just answer some questions because a lot of questions I answer because a lot of people probably want to know and people knows it. And you know, when people ever go to your Instagram, they will see things and they will try to judge you. So I answered that question in advance because uh there's like I said, this platform created to give people a voice and to speak their truth. On no, everybody has truth based
Good.
on reality.
Say this, it's really good that people judge me, because the reality is when you look at a person and judge them, if you are smart enough, and it takes time to know this, when you have to say something about that, you're really talking about yourself. And that's what people really, that's why I'm okay with comments and judgments, because I know that's the start of that person dealing with themselves. It could be.
Yeah, a lot of people ain't quite gonna understand what that means, but I understand what you say. What you're saying is, because you saying
I'm pointing the finger if I have a thumb back
is
at
that,
me.
yeah, that's basically what you just said. Yeah, as they don't quite understand that just yet. Maybe they will never understand. Maybe they will, but I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I understood what you was coming from, and that is a true statement. You know, if you worry about what somebody's doing and not bothering you, then why is it? If it's not nothing directly really affecting you, why are you concerned about it anyway? You know.
When you have to make a comment and have to do a long dissertation on how you feel someone should be, or if you feel like I have to help you and the person didn't, and I didn't ask you to help me, what you're really saying is, this is the help I need. This is the judgment I have on myself. You know, maybe I don't feel sexy enough to do what you're doing, so it feels better to me to just shame it. You know, it's okay, because it's only a process of you doing yourself, you working out yourself, and that's what public figures and actors are really here for.
Yeah, you
You
kind of look to the thing. You don't, you know, you speak for yourself. I guess you can speak for yourself on that one.
I'm
Maybe that,
speaking for, I
yeah.
can take it.
Okay, now, anything. Now, I pretty much finna. I think I answered you enough questions as it is. That's important.
Yeah,
If there's anything that you would like to say to the people who's watching and listening, that you would like to say to anybody, I don't care if it's actor or normal person, that you would like to share with people, other than what you said that I not thought of before we go.
I would really like people to understand that you cannot, you really limit yourself. You become a small part, myopic part of a whole grand universe when you try to judge people or say what you think you would do based on your own experience. You have to always be in the world. I believe you should be always in the world of what if, always in the world of, well, that's not my experience, but that may have happened to them, that there's something I can learn from that down the road. But words like no and concrete shallow decisions on people really close yourself off from a greater learning about situations. And I would just like to say, you know, in this time when we're home and we got to deal with, you know, people that we had maybe went to work every day and didn't see them the whole day, and now we got to really look in their face. It's really about making the effort to see things past your own experience. If you can be open to that, there might be a chance that in any diversity in the world we can come together, you know. And you know, and also I just want to say the whole thing about this cancel culture situation is so sad. You really, people are just a sum of energy. They go on for years and years, and if you judge a person by a situation or one thing that you hear in the news that was sensationalized, or one thing they said, and don't really take into account the sum of the human being, and then make your judgments or your exiles from there, you are missing out just on a plethora of information, knowledge. Every person is just a walking plethora of information and knowledge and experience. And I would really be careful about the cancel culture, because I feel like it's like a reverse psychology trick to get everybody to shut up, you know, and just keep talking. If you hate me, keep talking. You know, if you love me, keep talking. It's okay. You know, come out of your emotional selves and just learn. That's it.
All right, thank you. Now, if there's anything where people can reach you, we want to tell you about the social media platforms they can find you if they want to follow you.
Yeah, you can get me on Instagram at the real Trina McGee, and you can get me on Twitter at real Trina McGee, and my Facebook, I think it's real Trina McGee. Yeah, and just check on me there. You know, I'm opening up a really great natural herb company. I'm going to give a lot of instructions on how to use these natural remedies to heal ourselves, and they're not necessarily a replacement at this point for Western medicine, but there are some really great things we can do that are right here. I really just believe everything was always provided for us, and I'm a really big advocate of that now. The reason I can sit here and be so peppy at 50, I've practiced these things for years, using, drinking certain herbs. And so as I progress on that, my store should be up very soon. And I'm going to be giving a lot of instructions on how to just heal yourself. Things that people don't, would never even thought to do. Things you have in your own cabinet that could just enhance your quality of life. Because no matter where you're at on the economic scheme of life these days, motivated or not, you gotta live, and you gotta be able to live in this world, and you gotta grab your happiness, and you gotta know all the elements that have to do with that outside of just a relationship or argument or a situation at work. There are things in the air coming down on us that you don't know how could be affecting our mood right now. And there's also things in the earth that we can put into our bodies to deflect these situations. So that's really what I'm about right now. You know, I was into this way before the COVID situation. And then I really realized, wow, there's really a need for this. There's so many things you can do to prevent even getting a flu. And that's kind of what bothers me about, honestly, the media right now. They're saying, oh, there's this crisis and this and that, and stay inside. No one's saying what to do to how to get your immune system up. That's very suspect to me. Why aren't you telling the people there's so many things to do to keep your immune system up? And they're all a grab away, from chewing on ginger to chewing on certain roots to just the first thing you put in your body during the day. And I think that we really have got to get back to the garden. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I think you'll enjoy it. And yeah, I love to present it in a health way. I love to present it sensual, whatever it takes to get your attention. You know what I'm saying?
You know how to do that. You got that down pretty good.
I want your attention.
Matter of fact, when you do launch it, can I re-interview you on the new products when you do ready to launch that thing?
Yeah, give me about a month. I'm going to have a whole bunch of stuff coming along. I just discovered this drink that's been in India for years. It's really easy to make. It's called Jira, and I've been enjoying that for a while. Very simple, and yeah, let's get back, and I'll give you all my recipes and all my ways to to keep you happy and alive, thriving.
Yeah, because if they look at your pictures, they why they wouldn't want to jump on it. You don't look that at age 51 for nothing. You put work into that. You tilt that garden good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
so,
you.
I'm just being honest. So I really thank y'all, and stay tuned after this. We'll talk a little bit. I want to thank all the viewers for listening to Your Journey with Andrew Love, and check out Trina McGee on her social media sites, what I will be sharing in the description, like I said, of the video. And I know it's been a long interview, but yes, it's been inspiring. I'm loving it, and I want to thank her so much for taking the time on her busy schedule, very busy schedule, I know, to come on my platform, and she didn't have to. But I was very, very thankful, very grateful, and I'm very grateful for all the viewers and listeners that's watching and tuning in. I really want to thank y'all. I really do, and I want y'all to stay safe. Build your immune system. Do what you can, stay safe, and love each other, and continue to be happy during this time as much as possible. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for looking at your journey, and get ready. I have some more upcoming interviews as soon as I can. So much is going on.
Change. the exchange of energies has been really great. Your voice is heard louder, and so is mine, and that's a good thing.
Oh, thank you, Miss McGee. Thank you, and thank y'all, and thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you so much. Thank
Okay.
you.